Hello everybody, welcome to another mod showcase. Today we've got a troop overhaul mod, which I've been testing out. I've been testing out for a couple of hours now, and it's a really solid mod. I'm not going to take too much time in the intro. I'm just going to say, simply, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. The mod will be in the description, and without further ado, let me quickly hop in because there's a lot to show you. I don't want to get through it as quick as possible. All right, so let's go. Okay, so we are in the Overworld. Like I say, this mod won't actually change anything around the map. So as I zoom out again, you can see that I've got the Car Radio Expanded mod. Again, if you haven't seen that mod or don't know anything about that mod, I've made another mod review about it. Please do check it out. As well as the Valkyrie mod. Again, I've done another mod showcase on that. I've actually got it to work with the Car Radio Expanded mod, so it's pretty cool having all these extra settlements and also having this little sub-faction live up here, or well, exist up here. So it's quite cool. So what this mod actually does is takes all the troop trees from all the different factions and expands them massively. And it adds a lot of different units and a lot of different play styles with the different units, which I feel like the base game's missing quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each faction, show you each one of their units, just show both the noble trees, both the normal rosters, go through each one, and we can kind of see the difference from what the base game would be to what this mod actually offers. This isn't just a troop overhaul. It doesn't just change the troops. It also changes what armors they have and what weapons they have. This is a bit of a compilation mod, so it not only does it rewrite all the units, but it also does introduce new armors, new weapons, some even unique weapons with unique names. Really cool looking. I especially like the Vlandian troops. We'll see the Vlandians when we get to it. But without further ado, I think we'll start off with the Empire. So let's quickly hop over to the Empire. Okay, so here we go. We've got this is the base unit tree for the Empire. So I'm going to give you a bit of an idea of, obviously you should know if you play the game what you'd get, but it's a bit of a comparison, while doing the mod showcase. So as you can see, these are the infantry lines which did the Empire get. Just standard. Like I say, if you play the base game, you'll know exactly what these boys are. Again, archer lines going into the Palatine Guard, the Bucellari, and again the Imperial crossbowmen into the Imperial Sergeants. So let's quickly hop over to what the mod has to offer, and we'll do a bit of a comparison, as it offers a lot. So let's have a look. Okay, so here we are in the modded roster with the Imperial troops. As you can see, there's a lot more options instantly available, and it goes quite far down. We will go through them each and every faction and what they have to offer. So straight off the bat, Imperial recruits instantly get a bit more of an upgrade. They get a little bit more armor and all that, so that's really cool. Really nice looking armor. Going down the infantry line, we've got the Imperial Auxiliary. Going down to the Hastati, into the Principe, which then it can be split off into a cav, which I believe is it's like a polearm cav, going down into the Mounted Legionnaire, which is really cool looking. And basically these are, I don't know if you've ever really used the troops from the Legion of the Betrayed, I believe. So I think they're called the Triari. They're best troops, Legion of the Betrayed. But these are basically Legion of the Betrayed, but on horseback. And so they're really cool. And again, if you don't want to go down the kind of shock cav route, you can now go down the Legionnaire, which is very similar to what you'd get in the base game. You've got the Praetori, which again is getting better armor, better weapons. I don't know what the use for two pilums are. I don't know if you could potentially throw them. I don't think so. Having two pilums is a bit of a weird one. And eventually the Imperial Centuri, which again is pretty much a Triari from the Legion of the Betrayed. So these are really cool looking boys. Again, going back to up into Imperial Auxiliary, if you didn't want to go for shock cav or a bit of a staunchy line of naughty boys, you could go down the Axeman route, which obviously will be two-handed. So we get the Southern broad two-handed axe. Again, going down into the Imperial Axeman, which then splits off. You get the Malevoluton here, which can go down to the elite version. Look at that helmet. Ooh. One thing which this mod seems to fix is sometimes infantry will be given polearms which are just thrust damage. In real life, that's great. In this game, thrust damage for infantry is really bad. And so what you'll see is 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, if an infantry's got a polearm, it will have swing damage because it doesn't add up in this game with thrust damage on infantry. It works really well for cav because they've got momentum and they've got obviously moving fast on a horse, and they can kind of hit targets at a distance, and it works well with cav. Infantry doesn't work at all. As soon as they get too close, if you've only got thrust damage on a polearm, you just turn into a potato. You can't do anything. So looking at this guy, he's really nice. He's got a reinforced royal helm, imperial lamellar shoulders, lamellar segmenta, lamellar plate gauntlets, and lamellar plate boots. So he's really naughty. He doesn't have any other weapons except from a fine steel Malevolent. So what this will be able to do is it's going to be good against cav. It's going to stop any cav in its tracks, but again, at the same time, it's got swing damage, so it will be able to defend itself against infantry as well. I would prefer if this had maybe a short sword as well, just for people who get too close, because like this is fine until the enemy gets past the shaft, to the shaft. As soon as they get to this bit of the weapon, you're going to be doing really minimal blunt damage, and so it would be nice if they had a short sword to fall back on when the enemy got too close. But I mean, accompanied by other infantry, I mean, if you got some of these accompanied by some centuries, I don't see why they wouldn't work. It's just having one long weapon is a bit of an issue, but it should be fine. It should be fine. The tankiest fuck anyway, but also. Again, if you didn't want to go down this option, you do have now a different option going down into the Imperial House Guard and the Imperial Varangian Guard, which will be accompanied with an Imperial Broadaxe, which is a two-handed axe. They've got a Norse round shield as well as a steel Paramirian, which is a one-handed sword, and as well as some Imperial thrown axes. A lot of these weapons you may not recognise. A lot of these weapons have been introduced through the mod. It adds so much, and this doesn't only apply for the units. You can go out and find these weapons as well. So it adds a lot more for you to wear and for you to equip, as well as your troops. It's gonna really flesh out all the troops. So these are going to be your frontline heavy hitters with a two-handed axe. Can fall back onto us one-handed, and will have some thrown axes at a range. Again, some really nice body armor as well to keep them alive. Going down the other option now, we've got some Imperial archers, which can then be turned into trained archers. And instead of being Palatine guards will come back to in a minute because their noble trees have changed as well. It adds a little bit more of a variety with noble trees. So instead of going into Palatine guards, you get the Toxotai, which is a pretty nice boy. He's got some barbed arrows, simple short bow, and a spaffer, which can then be turned into a veteran Toxotai, which can then have 2 lots of bodkin arrows. So that's 48 arrows there, which is a pretty insane number. Again, an upgraded spaffer, upgraded armor all around, but yeah, really nice looking helmet as well. Feathered helmet, really sick. So this guy's going to be able to fire off a lot of arrows. He's got a potential, like I say, of 48 arrows in comparison to the previous one, which only has a total of 20. So he can lay down a lot more arrows down range before having to swap to his main one-handed sword, which is again an upgrade to his previous version. If you didn't want archers there and you wanted some more crossbows, you can go down the Imperial line, which will give you, just normal crossbow and another spaffer. One thing which I love about this mod is they've reintroduced a lot of different crossbow bolts. In the base game, there's like 3 crossbow bolts, and it really doesn't change much. I think it only really changes the stack size. I think it's like goes from 18 to 20 to 22, and that's it. What this mod does is reintroduce bolt variations. And so, for example, we've got the Damascus bolts here, which do 7 pierce damage. So again, really nice. That was now a bit of a variation there with bolts instead of just being basically how many bolts you have in a stack. It's really nice. Again, keeping down the Imperial crossbowman line, you've got some sergeants, which again, very similar, but they will now have a shield. Along with their one-handed weapon. They've got some Onyx bolts, which if you put in comparison, these ones do 7 pierce damage, these Onyx bolts do 15 pierce damage, as well as a Hickory crossbow. Again, a lot more crossbows, a lot more of everything in this game. And then going down to the Imperial Captain crossbowman, You've got a large bag of onyx bolts. Sorry, so that's 36 bolts, which is insane. Bearing in mind the max size before was what, 22, maybe 24. This one gives you 36, which does plus 15 damage. You've also got the eagle crossbow, which does 95. So these two combined are going to be doing like 120 PS damage. Missile speed is going to be firing super quick, accuracy also super quick, super good. Sorry, and speed is also pretty nice for a crossbow. So these guys are going to hit like a bitch. So there you go. So that's the baseline of the Imperial troops. We'll quickly hop over to the Noble Tree before we're moving on to the next faction. Like I say, Noble Tree has been revamped a little bit, so we'll take a quick look. Okay, so here we are in the Noble Tree. So again, it starts off the same. It starts off very similar. Everything will be revamped though. For example, the Vigila recruit here will probably have better armor and better weapons. I'm not going to do a side-by-side comparison. I'm not that clever. But we'll keep down the normal route with what it would normally do. So you'd normally turn it into a horseman, an Imperial heavy horseman, and this is where you can get your cataphracts. You know, going down the cataphract line, elite cataphract, and the eventually going down to the Imperial Grivpanvar. It's a shame that I can't see the horse's stats, but I'm guessing the horse will be pretty naughty. The benefit to this is basically this is going to be your main lance cav. It's going to run in there, do a bit of naughty damage, come back and cycle charge and keep on lancing. If it does get stuck down though, it does have a nice shield accompanied by a Famaskeen steel spaffer. Again, armor is going to be really nice. You can have a look at all the stats yourself. I'll hover over them if you want to pause it. There you go. All the different stats. So these cataphracts, Imperial's Grivpanvars are going to be really good at being the new shock cav. We've now got a different Bucellary option. If you went back to the other Imperials, they didn't actually really have much cav. They had a couple of polearm cav, but they didn't actually have any range cav. So these have now been reserved to the Noble Tree. So you've got the Bucellary here, moving into the Elite, and then finally into the Silbinari. I do apologise if I'm getting any of these wrong. I hate pronouncing names. But this is very much in line with like the veteran units of the Khuzaites. So instead of having just one thingy of arrows, they've got two Imperial arrows, two lots of Imperial arrows, a stack of 25 each. So that's 50 arrows this half scav can have. With a step warbow, which is a pretty nice warbow, it's not too bad at all. And then again, as soon as they've used all 50 arrows, if they do use all 50 arrows, because that's a lot of arrows, they then can turn into lance cav, very similar to the cataphracts. So to me, it's kind of I can see the benefit for both of them, but these in a little bit of a way kind of counteract the cataphracts a little bit, because you may as well have 50 arrows and get rid of the sword and shield, in my opinion. I may be thinking about that wrong. Maybe it's nice to have a little bit of both. You know, some to instantly get in there and start thinning down the herd, while these ones can run around the sides and thin them out from a distance, and then they can both work together and charge from different directions, stuff like that. I can see the benefit of both of them, but I definitely would probably go with the Bucellary down here, Bucellary, more so than the cataphracts. But I can see the benefit of both. However, that's different in and of itself, but now this is where we go into the Palatines. Palatine guards have been moved over here, and they've got a lot more variants to them. So instead of going into cav, you can now turn into a archer. So this is Imperial Palatine Novice, which then turns into a Palatine Adept. Again, new armor, new shoulder pads. That's one of the good things about this mod. It adds a lot of shoulder pads. Vlandians as well. Vlandians, I feel like, I'm missing so many shoulder pads, and you wait until you get to Vlandians because they look fucking nice. Going into a Palatine Archer, again looking pretty sweet. Palatine Guard, this is very similar to what you'd normally get. You've just got the Palatine Bow, some Imperial arrows, so again 50 arrows, and a Spaffian. And eventually at the bottom now we've got an Imperial Royal Palatine Guard, which, oh, look at that helmet, that's such a cool helmet. Royal helm with face mask, Imperial long cape, Imperial scale armor, decorated Imperial gauntlets, and decorated Imperial boots. He's got a Palatine bow with again 50 arrows and a Famaskeen steel spaffer. So really, really nice. Again, these are going to be able to lay down some really nice fire. You look at this bow. Speed 94, accuracy 97, missile speed 95. So he's going to be able to reload pretty quick. He's going to be the arrows themselves are going to travel pretty fast, and 85 pierce damage. That's insane. That's a lot of pierce damage. So there you go. That's the Imperials done. That's the noble tree. That's all the new roster, and that is a little bit of a showcase of the original roster at the very beginning. Let's move on to what should we do next? Let's do Battania. We'll move on to Battania. Okay, so here we are at the Battanian list. As you can see, this is the normal list. So you've got your normal frontline boys over here with javelins. You've got some more javelin boys over here with 200. I know 100. Oh, they get spears. Yeah. So these are going to be good at taking out like cav and stuff. You've got one mounted skirmisher option over here if you wanted to put your javelins onto a horse. You've also got some lance cav. So it's not the best lance cav. You definitely could get better lance cav out there. Again, you've got your falxmen, which are really good heavy hitters. Pole arms. It's a good pole arm as well, the Romphaelia, because it's got swing damage, which, like I say, if it's infantry, it needs that swing damage, as well as 2 lots of Highland thrown axes. So Battania's units aren't the worst. Not really got too much cav, but definitely have a nice range of skirmish heavy infantry. Mainly heavy infantry. They've got a lot of heavy infantry. Let's hop over to what this mod has to offer for the Battanians now, however. So let's have a look. Okay, so we are here on the Battanians' new roster. Now it's kind of hard to actually fit everything in. It's a shame I can't extend the screen a little bit because there's so much here. As you can see instantly, the variations in the troops is huge. It's massively different. And some of these troops, especially tier 6 or tier 7 units, some of them are really nice looking. So we'll go down the left hand side. Again, it starts off very similar. So Battanian Volunteer. Again, I don't think he had a helmet last time, so that's kind of cool. He's got a helmet now. Going down the Clan Warrior side, again, very similar to what it would be normally. However, the Falksman has moved from over here and has moved to here. So now we've got Battanian Raider, which is the initial Falksman, into a Battanian Falksman, Battanian Barbarian, Battanian Guerrilla Warrior, getting a bit tankier, and then a Battanian Ironborn. Look at that boy. Ooh. Look at that boy. So again, he's going to have the Romphaelia, which again is really important because it gives swing damage, which is lovely. It's also going to give a round shield. Now he's not really going to use a round shield. This is something you'll see a lot. A lot of these units won't actually use their shields. He does have Highland throwing axes, so he will use his shield when he has throwing axes. But as soon as he's used all 4 of his throwing axes, he will now switch to his polearm. But that's fine because that will still give him back protection from, I don't know, maybe a cav lancing in the back. Maybe he's fighting some infantry and he's turning his back to the archers. This will give him protection and quite a lot of protection at that as well. Not to mention all of his armor is going to keep him going for quite some time. He's quite a beefy boy. So that is the Battanian Ironborn, which is going to be your main two-handed or slash long pole arm with swing damage infantry. Really cool looking guy. However, if you go down the other tree, you've got the Battanian Trained Warrior. Again, kind of similar, not too much to offer here. Broadsword and a wooden oval shield. However, again, it's so cramped. We can then go down the Picked Warrior side into the Chosen Swordsman, into the Oathsworn. Again, look at that boy. Ooh. He's accompanied with a one-handed sword, a shield, and I believe 5 woodland javelins. So this is going to be your main shielded frontline infantry, which is going to be I think it's more armoured than some of these units over here, which we'll get into in a minute. Not as many javelins though as some of these units, but again we'll get into that. They're still going to be some of your frontline fighters. They're going to be able to get off their 5 javelins and get into the fight a lot sooner than some of the other boys. Going down the other side though, we've got some Battanian Scouts, which turn into Battanian Horsemen, which turn into Battanian Noble Horsemen. So they've got an upgrade, they've got more cav, the cavs have got a bit of a longer range. Again, these capes, Imperial long capes, but it just works. It just works for everyone they put it on. So again, this is going to be your polearm cav. accompanied with a one-handed sword and shield. So very similar to what the Imperials were offering with their cataphracts. This is their new. This is the Battanians' cataphracts. It won't be anywhere as good because obviously the cataphracts is the noble tree, but still good nonetheless. Going down the right hand side, however, we've got the Battanian Woodrunner, which again very similar to what the base game would be with the javelins and such. They now have a baseline archer unit. Now, obviously in the base game, they'd have Battanian Fiends and Battanian Fiend Champions and stuff like that. So, and that would be the only range they'd have. They've now got Gaelic Hunters, Gaelic Archers. We'll quickly run through them. Gaelic Hunters, Gaelic Archers, and Gaelic Veteran Archers. So these boys are going to give you a bit of a different choice instead of having to find those noble trees and get Battanian Fiends. Especially again because the Battanian, well, all noble trees have changed. You may not want to just use Battanian Fiends. You may think, oh, this other noble unit's pretty cool. I want to use this one. And so what this mod obviously allows you to do is now have a bit more of a choice as to what troops you want. So there you go. We've got the Gaelic Veteran Archer here. Has the best archer in the original roster with a simple short bow, as well as 2 lots of bodkin arrows, which is going to give you a total of 48 arrows. That's a lot of arrows, and then accompanied by a broadsword. So again, not too crazy, but it's an archer unit you wouldn't normally have access to. So really cool. And again, the armor's looking really nice. They've done a really good job with the armor. Really fits in well. However, if you didn't want to go down the archer line, you can keep on going down the skirmisher line. And this is where the cav kind of splits itself apart. So this is going to be your main infantry cav, and then this is going to be your skirmishing cav. So these are going to be the cav which is going to keep a little bit of distance. They're not archers by any means, or any sense of the word. They are skirmishers. So they're accompanied with some fish harpoons at the first level, and then as the mounted tilgare. This level, they get some woodland javelins. They get 10 of them. So, like I say, these kind of units will keep their distance a little bit. They'll throw out all 10 javelins, and then they'll go into charge. And once they've used up all their javelins, they'll be accompanied by an Imperial Axe and a reinforced target. Again, armor's looking really nice. They're not going to be as fully plated as some of these boys. These guys definitely will have more protection, but like I say, these are not going to be in the battle as much. They're going to be on the sidelines, throwing in the javelins, trying to get as many kills as possible. If you wanted to go down a more of a heavy hitter skirmisher unit, though, on the infantry side, you've got the Veteran Skirmisher, which is looking pretty nice. You've got the Battanian Wildling, which again is very similar. Cool new hat, what's that one? Rough scale helmet, very nice looking. And the Battanian Elite Wildling, which again, a real nice look. They've done stupidly well with these units. So again, if you wanted to maybe compare these two, so these guys are going to be your mainline infantry. They've got 5 javelins. Once those 5 javelins are done, they'll get into the battle. They again can be accompanied by Battanian Ironborn, which have 4 throwing axes. So basically, Battanians are very skirmish heavy. They've got a lot of throwing. In fact, none of all their units have throwing items. Somewhere down the line, like maybe their early trees, like Clan Warriors, maybe not. Even the Battanian Raider does. Trained Warrior, he doesn't. So like out of all their units, only a couple of them don't have thrown weapons. So they're going to be using a lot of their thrown weapons. But whereas these will run out pretty soon, again, they've got 5, the Ironborn's got 4. These guys have 10. And so what these will do is kind of take a backseat a little bit, and while your other boys have used up all their ammunition, they'll still have 5 more javelins, or give or take 5 more javelins to throw in. And so these will be coming in a little bit late, but they'll have a lot more javelins to throw off. And their javelins are an upgraded version to what the Battanian Oathsworn and Ironborn have to offer, with that being the Hooked Javelin, which is 117 pierce damage. That's pretty naughty damage. Again, once he's used javelin, he does have a steel hatchet, which is going to be 82 swing damage. That's not bad, and a Highland round shield. Again, armor's pretty fucking nice. But yeah, once he uses up all his hook javelins, then he'll be getting into the battle. But by that time, the Oathsworn and the Ironborn will already be in there. So there you go. That is the Battanian rosters. A really nice looking roster, really good roster. Let's hop over to their noble tree and see what they have to offer instead of just Battanian Fiends. Let's have a look. Okay, so here we are in their noble tree. Again, this mod will tend to still give you the opportunity to still use what they would normally give. So you will see the Battanian Fiends, they just upgrade it a little bit, they change some things around, they give them new weapons, new armor, they just make them better, and that applies for everything. Even the recruits, they're just better. So here we are, we've got the Highborn Youth. Again, we'll stick down the left hand side over here, going down with the Highborn Warrior, the Battanian Hero, the Battanian Fiend Champion, which should normally be where it stop, and then we've got the Battanian Tulu Doer. Fucking names, eh? I think I've got that right. Tulu, oh god, doesn't matter. So again, these are going to be your new tier. What tier is this? Tier 6, tier 7. Tier 7 arch units. So if you do want to keep Fiend Champions, they've got basically a new level on top of that with even better armor, and they've now got the Tulu Doer longbow, which look at their stats, 105 pierce damage. That's more than some crossbows. Accuracy 105, missile speed 115. The only downside to this longbow is the reload speed, which is at 83, but even then that's pretty quick, all things considered. The archers are also unique to themselves. They've got Tulu Doer arrows, which is going to give them 40 arrows in total with a pierce damage of each of 15 pierce damage for an arrow. Again, insane. And they will be accompanied with a Fox two-handed weapon, so nothing to protect themselves in the shape of a shield or anything like that, but they do have a nice two-handed sword, which does 126 swing damage, which is insane. 102 swing speed. They're fast, basically. They're going to be pretty fast. However, if you didn't want to go down the Fiend option, you can now go down the Warrior option. So we've got the Highborn Warrior, you've got the Highland Hero, or Highland, sorry, not Highborn, Highland Warrior. Oh no, it's Highland Highborn Warrior. God, that's not my fault. Highland Hero, Highland Ophigern, Highland Tosiak, or Toysek. I swear I picked the worst mods for me. And the Highland Mormare, which again is just going to be more skirmishing cav. Skirmishing infantry. As you can see, the base variation gives them a two-handed sword, a shield on the back, which again isn't really going to be useful unless they're using their Highland Throne Axes. As soon as they use their Throne Axes, the shield will go in the back and it'll just be back protection, which is good nonetheless. It just adds, an extra layer of protection. These guys, as you can see, they only have one. The Ophigern have 3 lots of Highland Throne Axes. They've got 12 Throne Axes, which is insane. And so do the Toysek. They also have 12 Throne Axes, which is a lot of axes. Now the Mormare do lose most of their Throne Axes. They do only have one lot of Highland Throne Axes. However, their armor is massively upgraded. Wolf shoulder plate, Highland plate armor, plate gauntlets, plate boots, plate helmet, 56 head protection, really good helmet. And it will have Vlandian, which is again a uniquely named weapon, which is going to offer them 166 swing damage. That is monstrous. 166 swing damage is insane. These are going to be the type of people, you're not going to have many of them because noble units are kind of hard to come by anyway. But if you have maybe 5 of these on your front line, they're going to throw 4 of their axes and then swap to that. They're going to be cleaving through enemies like there's no tomorrow. Like, it's okay these guys having 12 axes, but can you sit there and say they'll likely get all 12 of their axes thrown? Maybe, maybe not. Can this guy get 4 thrown off and then swap to that bad boy? Yeah. Yeah, he can. So this guy's definitely going to be your main staunch line of your infantry. This is going to be a naughty boy to have at the front. Really, really cool guy. Really cool unit to have. So there you go, that is the Battanian Noble Tree, as well as the Battanian new roster, as well as the original roster. Let's hop over to the... we'll do Vlandians now. Vlandians are looking pretty naughty, so we'll hop over to their units now. Okay, so here is the original tree for the Vlandians. As you can see, they focus a lot on crossbowmen, as well as kind of heavy cav, not too bad cav, heavy infantry, and this tree here, which... I don't know how I feel about this tree. This literally is the epitome of what's wrong with infantry, spear infantry. Western long spear, thrust speed damage. Thrust speed, sorry, is 79. Thrust damage 26. They're just really bad. Like I say, in real life, a thrust weapon is really good because you literally instantly kill someone with a thrust weapon. So as just as much as any weapon. But in this game, with momentum and thrust damage, it doesn't pay off. And so the Vlandian spearmen kind of are in a weird spot. Once they get to a Billman, they're incredibly better. They are a really good solid unit. And if you go to a Volgear, they're also very good. It's a bit weird that they've got, you know, a pole arm into a two-hander, into a one-hander with throwing axes. It's kind of like just give him everything and hope for the best. But he's still, the Vlandian Volgear is a really well-rounded unit. The pikeman, on the other hand, I don't know why he's in the game. Again, he's got a fine pike. Now, this guy will be insane once the brace pike mechanic gets implemented properly into the game. So once you can tell infantry to brace their pikes, and he can stick that pike into the ground, and any cavalry which comes across that pike will just basically instantly melt on it. That'll be really good. And, you know, again, he's accompanied by a ridged arming sword. So once he does take down the horse, he can then whip out his sword and, you know, go after them with a sword. But until that mechanic's in, the Vlandian pikemen are just in a real shit spot. Because, you know, in reality, in warfare, in real life, pikemen were used all the time. They were really good. In this game, they're not. They're just not. It doesn't translate well. But anyway, just little tidbit. I hope they eventually change. I'm sure they. Well, I'm hoping they'll change the Vlandian pikemen. But if not, a mod like this will solve all your problems. Let's hop over to the mod units, which definitely fixes a lot of the issues with Vlandian pikemen. So let's have a look. Okay, so here we are. We've got the Vlandian new roster units. So we start off with a recruit again. Starts off with a helmet. A little bit of a clipping issue there, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You've now got two different ranged lines, so you can go down the crossbowman just like normal. However, you can now go down an archer line. However, they're not just normal archers. The Vlandians, they never really were too good with bow and arrows. You know, even going into Warband, they did focus a lot more on crossbowmen. However, what these guys focus on in this mod is longbows. So you're not going to get normal archers, you're going to have longbowmen. And so going down this line, you've got the longbow retainer, you've got the longbowmen in general. You've then got the veteran longbowman, and then you've got the Vlandian yeoman, which is really cool. Again, it's got the Vlandian yew longbow, which has got really good missile speed, really good accuracy, 92 pierce damage, and the speed, it's okay. It's a longbow. It's okay. It's not too bad. He's then accompanied by 2 lots of piercing arrows, which is going to give him 46 arrows in total, as well as a pointed falcon. So a pretty solid longbow unit, and I believe it's one of the only longbow units in the game. Most of the archers are that. They're archers. However, these guys are focused and specialised down the longbow unit. So they'll be shooting slower, but they'll be shooting harder and doing more damage and shooting faster. So really, a really cool unit. Going down the left hand side, we've got Vlandian crossbows, which are normal, accompanied by the hardened crossbowman, Vlandian sharpshooter, and now this is where it kind of gets interesting. It splits off. Only one down this side, and then it goes down 2 on this side. So we'll go over to the Pavi's champion. Look at this. Look at that helmet. Oh, it's so nice. Chain shoulders. Oh, it's so... I fucking love the Vlandian new armour. This isn't the best of it either. So he gets the bound crossbow, which, look at that, 114 pierce damage, 105 accuracy, and 118 missile speeds. The reload speed is only 63, so he's going to be reloading pretty slowly. However, the damage is going to be pretty naughty. Going down the other side, we've now got the Vlandian Repeaterman, which I think you may guess what that might do. And then the Vlandian Drodman. I don't know. So here is the Iliadrod, which the reload speed is incredibly slow at 25. Pierce damage 86, it's not the worst. Accuracy 80, not the worst, not the best. Missile speed 93, not too bad. Ammo limit. Now that's the interesting bit. Now if we look back at this boy, he hits hard, but he's only got an ammo limit of 1. I haven't tested it, but this has got an ammo limit of 9, and I'm under the impression with this boy being called the Repeaterman that you've now got repeating crossbows in the game. He's also got a large bag of rending bolts. So that's going to be 64 bolts, which deliver 20 pierce damage each. So that's going to be 106 pierce damage each for every crossbow bolt you hit, depending on armor, of course, and depending where you hit them. If you hit them in the head, obviously that's going to be multiplied. If you hit them in the chest and have got really heavy armor, obviously that's going to be negated a little bit. But you got a crossbow which can shoot 9 bolts before reloading. Oh, 9 bolts before reloading, and has got a stack of 64. These boys, again, not as much damage as the champion, but 9 bolts before reloading a crossbow. Again, they reload super slow. Take that into account. They reload super slow. Their reload speed is 25 in comparison to this crossbow's, which is 63. So this guy's going to be able to reload 3 times in the space of this guy reloading once. However, this guy's going to be able to fire off 9 crossbow bolts each time he reloads, whereas this guy's going to be able to fire across 1. However, again, the trade-off, he does more damage. This guy does more damage downrange over time, you know. So it's really cool, and it definitely has its ups and downs on both sides. So there you go. That's the infantry, not the infantry. This is the ranged line for the Vlandians. Really cool. Let's head over to their infantry line and a little bit of their cav line, because as you can see, the pikeman is nowhere to be seen. Thank God. So we've got the Vlandian footman going down into the Vlandian billman, which instantly goes to the short bill. Nothing else but the short bill. Thankfully, this is a two-handed axe, so even though it looks like a polearm, it's not really. He doesn't really need anything else. A shield or something, but I mean, it's good for what he is. It's fine. We've then got the Vlandian halberdier with a Vogue, again, just making sure that each one of these polearms has thrust damage. Swing damage, because if it's just thrust damage, then you're shit out of luck, basically. So having that swing damage means that he'll actually be able to take on people in infantry combat, as well as some throwing axes. The armoured halberdier, which again, look at the armour, look at the helmet, it's fucking naughty, it's naughty. And then we've got the Vlandian halbluder. Now then, got a pig face bassinet, western plate armour, laminar plate boots, and heavy mail mittens. Really, really nice all in all. He doesn't have a cape or anything, but he does have a poleaxe, which I believe is a new weapon. And this is a two-handed polearm. Again, it's got thrust damage, which at 40 is not too bad, but that's swing damage, 141. Oh. So this is going to be able to take down cavalry pretty nicely. At the same time, it's also going to be able to take down anything pretty nice. You can see the length of it isn't too long, so it's very close to being a two-handed axe, more so than it is being a two-handed polearm. So this definitely is a nice replacement for the pikeman. Something like this I really wish they would do. Turn the pikeman into a halberdier unit. You know, simple, boom. Actually, something you may want on your units roster now instead of pikeman. Pikeman, I don't think anyone's ever used. Full stop. The halberdier, pretty naughty. However, if you don't want to go down the two-handed polearm option, they do unfortunately lose their throwing axes, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can go down the Vlandian infantry, down into the Vlandian swordsman, and then finally into the armoured swordsman, which, look at that helmet. Oh, now they do lose the sergeants. Now the sergeants do make a reappearance. I will show the sergeants in the noble tree. They're not called sergeants anymore, but they may as well be sergeants. But here you go. You've got the Vlandian armed swordsman. Look at that. Oh, that's some nice armour. That's some nice armor. Again, Vlandians in the base game only really have scarves. They don't have really many shoulder pads, which is really strange for Vlandians. However, in this mod, they do have something. They've got different stuff. Like for example, here we've got the Western plate shoulders, which gives them 10 body armor and 6 arm armor, which is it's pretty nice. They're very nice looking. Accompanied by a knightly arming sword and a wide heater shield. Going down their cav range, the cav range is very similar to what it would be in the base game. They do have an extra tier. They go into light cavalry, then into men at arms, and then into Vlandian vanguards. So this is very similar to what you'd get in the base tree of the base game when you get Vlandian vanguards. They're not that different. There's still going to be your lance cav. Still got a sword and shield for when they get tied down, and they've got nice armor all in all. So nothing really changes there too much with the cav. However, if we swap over to the noble tree, which we'll just do quickly. Okay, so here we are in the noble tree. As you can see, they've got their cav line, which sticks to what they would normally be. We'll quickly run down the infantry line here, because this is basically what the sergeants turn into. So we've got the Vlandian lieutenant, which is pretty nice looking, into the Vlandian captain, into the Vlandian provost marshal, into the Vlandian marshal, and then finally into the Vlandian senior marshal. Again, really nice armor. He's going to have some Franska thrown axes, basically. As well as a marshal's signature, which is going to be a sword which delivers 162 swing damage. So these are going to be, again, you have these at the front of your infantry, leading the charge. Going to throw off a couple of thrown axes and then swap to a sword which does 162. Two-handed sword. So good thing about two-handed weapons, if you didn't know, is they cut through enemies, which I kind of wish polearms, which you can swing, do the same, but they don't. At least not to my experience, they don't. So what these will be able to do is they'll be able to swing their two-handed sword and hit multiple enemies in one swing, which is really nice. If he's delivering 162 damage a swing and that's hitting 3 or 4 dudes, okay. Again, really nice armor, really nice looking soldiers. So that's the difference down here with the noble tree. Again, you do start off with Vlandian squire, but you can instantly put them down into a noble infantry line. Keeping down to what they would normally be, you've got the Vlandian gallant into the Vlandian champion. Now they would normally go into the Vlandian knight, which again, nice armor, nice cape. Adding these capes, even though it's imperial long cape, like I say, they did it for the Battanians, they've done it for the Imperials. It just looks nice. It just goes so well. Vlandian knight turns into the Vlandian bachelor knight, which, and then eventually into the Vlandian knight Bannerlord. Bannerlord. Look at that. Ooh, that's naughty. So what this is going to be is basically accompanying your vanguards in the other roster. There's going to be your lance cav with again a one-handed and a shield. So very similar to the vanguards in the original roster in the normal recruit line, but these are going to be basically much more heavy hitters. So they're going to have, their health's going to be more because they're going to have better armor, they're going to have better weapons, everything's just going to be better with them. So whacking in a couple of these, again, nobles, you've got to understand that nobles, you won't find them all over the place, you'll find some here and there, so it's really down to you what you want to prioritize. However, an interesting thing, keeping in theme with their cavalry, is you now can get a apprentice chevalier, a Vlandian chevalier, and eventually a Vlandian Milanese chevalier, which is a really nice looking boy. The trade-off here, and this one kind of appeals a little bit more. Now, as much as I love that helmet, this one kind of appeals a little bit more to me, because if you build up your main cav force of lance cav, right? You've got maybe, I don't know, say you've got 50 vanguards, which are all lance cavalry. You can put these into a separate, like a group tree. You could maybe assign these to group tree 6. And so you could charge in your lance cav to instantly kill, I don't know, 30, 40 dudes, depending on how well they actually lance people. They'll push through, and as they turn around for a cycle, you could push in these boys, which will be, they've got Excalibur, which is a nice one-handed sword, as well as a steel-plated heater shield. And what these ones will do is they'll get in there and they'll distract and they'll group up the enemies around them, keeping the enemies distracted to then allow your vanguards to come and recharge again, lancing and doing all that crazy shit. So I don't know. This appeals a little bit more to me than just having lance upon lance upon lance. These are very nice, and especially the fact that they've got Excalibur. That's 86 swing damage for a one-headed sword. 86 swing damage is very, very good. So there you go. Already we're only 3 factions in. I think we've got 3 more to go. We've got Aserai, Sturgians, and Khuzait. I think we'll hop over to Khuzait next. But already you can see the amount of new units you can use and new playstyles you can go through while playing as each one of these factions. Again, doesn't change anything. All it adds is new units, new armor, new weapons to everything in the game. And you can then find these new armors and new weapons and new everything to then equip for yourself. So you could look like this, or if you want to, you could probably look like this. It's really nice. It's really good. Okay, let's hop over to the Khuzait and see what they've got to offer with this lovely mod. Okay, so here we are with the Khuzait. This is just the normal troop line again. The Khuzait have always focused on horse cav, even in Warband. They've been really focused on horse archers and quite heavy hitting, fast-paced shot cav. So you've got your raiders, your house infantry. You've got a really just generic sword infantry line or spearman infantry, it depends, a bit of both to be fair, and an archer line. So let's quickly hop over to what this mod has to offer and see what it actually changes. Okay, so here we are with the new roster for the Khuzait. Instantly starting off over here with the Nomad. You can again keep them going down where they traditionally are set with the tribal warriors. Going down into their horse archer line, you've got the Khuzait Raider, Khuzait Horse Archer, Khuzait Heavy Horse Archer, and then the Khuzait Feng Horse Archer. So what this is going to do is give you a nice step warbow, some nice step arrows, 48 arrows in total, and a fine steel saber. So this is going to be an upgrade to what the original Heavy Horse Archer would be. So really cool looking, new armor, new everything, really cool looking. Keeping down with the Cav, we've got the Horseman, the Lancer, the Heavy Lancer, which again would be where it normally stop, and then you've got the Khuzait Kishi, which is going to be your Lance Cav as well. It's got a one-handed sword which is called Wind's Fury. Again, really cool name. It's got 76 swing damage, so it's going to be able to lance. If it gets caught off, if it gets stuck by a pole arm and it has to stop, it can then swap over to a nice one-handed sword to be able to protect itself. So a really cool cav unit, really cool looking cav unit. Going down the other side, we've got some footmen, which again are pretty normal. You've then got the Khuzait Hunter into the Khuzait Archer, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Kind of just thrown in there, but I'll accept it. You've got the Khuzait Chuko Numan, which adds a repeating crossbow unit to the Khuzait. Kind of weird, kind of out there, but sure, I'm not complaining. So the Khuzait Chuko Numan will again have the repeating crossbow, not as good as the Vlandian repeating crossbow. This one only has a limit of 6. It does reload a little bit quicker. It doesn't do anywhere near as much damage. Accuracy, missile speed, again not as good, but a little bit faster reloading. But still, it's a good little option to have. It's just a bit different. It's just, again, it kind of took me off guard when I first came across it, but really cool nonetheless. You've also got the glaive, which again is a pole arm, but hey, swing damage 40, boom, tick that box off. That's all you need to worry about. Is it got swing damage? That's fine. You've then on the opposite side got the marksman, and then you've got the Ju Feng, which is a really nice archer. It's got the hurricane bow, which is going to be giving you 110 missile speed, 102 accuracy, 93 pierce damage, and 88 reload speed. So pretty fast, accompanied by 2 lots of step arrows, which is going to give you a total. Or well, I keep on saying you're not going to be giving this. It's going to give your Khuzait Zu Fengs a total of 48 arrows, and they do also have a broad ild, which is a very nice one-handed sword. Again, armor to accompany. Really nice looking armor. Really good job on all these units. Going down the infantry line, instead of going down where the Duzakan or Darkan would normally be, which I believe is down this side, we'll go down this side. So these guys have kind of changed from spearmen into skirmish infantry. So you've got the sword guard, you've got the Darkan, which again will give you some Eastern javelins, Eastern cavalry shield, and a heavy saber, and then eventually into a Jiangsheng. Again, really fucking nice armor. You got a steel round shield. You got the Eastern Javelin, which is going to give you 5 for 89 damage a throw, and a heavy one-handed saber. So really, really nice skirmish infantry if you wanted it for the Khuzaites. Something the Khuzaites were really lacking. They only ever really had spear infantry, and then even then it wasn't the best. Again, though, if you did want to focus a little bit more on spear infantry, you've got the Glaveman, which is going to give you a Eastern Short Glaive, again making sure it's got that swing damage. You've then got the Veteran Glaveman. You've then got the Junshi, which has got the Long Glaive, really nice unit, and finishing off with the Duizhang. God, I'm the butcher of words. So you've got the Duizhang with the Royal Glaive, which is going to give you pretty nice thrust damage, but again 43 swing damage, not too bad. It's going to be at least able to contest with infantry as well as cav. Again, similar to I believe one of the Imperial units. I wish it did have a sword, but it's fine. It's got swing damage. That's all it needs. Maybe a throwing item or something, but it's fine. It's still good regardless. Let's quickly hop over to the Noble Tree and see what the Noble Tree has to offer instead of just new horse archers. So let's have a look. Okay, so here we are at the Noble Tree. So normally you go down the horse archer line, so we'll do that now. So we've got the Khuzait Noble Son, into the Quankli, into the Torgud, into the Keshig, into the Khan's Guard, which is normally where it stops, into the Khan's Shaman, which is going to give you the Step Warbow. It's not you. It's going to give these boys the Step Warbow, 36 stacks of stacked steppy arrows, which is going to be an insane amount. That's what, 72 arrows? 72 arrows on a horse. Insane. And then accompanied by a Royal Glaive. So once they've run out of 72 arrows, if they do, they can then swap to a nice swing damaged polearm. Kind of an interesting thing they've got going on here. They've got the Khuzait Hun Pupil, which I'll quickly explain the difference here because there isn't really much, but I do see why they've put them in. So you've got the Hun Pupil, the Hun Warrior, and the Hun Grand Master. Again, really nice looking armor. The difference here, I guess, is the sense that they've got very much they're very much similar, but the horses, I think, is, and this is why I wish I could see the horses stats. The horses is what's changed mostly here, as well as their weapon. So instead of a long polearm, they've got a short sword. So categorically, these guys are going to be slower. From what I can probably understand, these guys are going to be slower, but their horse is going to survive longer, and so therefore they're going to benefit more with a glaive because they're going to need it on the back of a horse. However, these guys are going to be faster, but the horses have a chance of dying quicker, and so they'll probably need a one-handed sword more so than the Khan's Shaman. Does that make sense? It's kind of a weird one. It's a lot of horse archers, which I know Khuzaites are based on horse archers and cav in general, but yeah, I can kind of see this. Like I say, these are just going to be fast. These are probably going to be one of the best horses in the game. Again, it's a shame that I can't actually see the horse's stats, but it has no protection to the horse, and I guess that's a trade-off. But again, really nice looking helmet. What is that? The Eastern helmet with faceplate. Really nice looking. So that is that. We can then go back real quick and click on this to go. Oh wait, not this. This. Yeah, there we go. Click on this to then go down a archer line for the Noble Tree if you didn't want to go down the horse archer. So you got the Khuzait Noble Warrior, which actually isn't an archer. For whatever reason, this doesn't have any thrown weapons or anything. It's just a infantry unit to start off with. However, when it turns into a Kuman Heir, it does get a Step Warbow as well as range arrows into a Kuman Warrior, Kuman Captain, and then a Kuman Komutan. Which again, really nice. I don't know how many times I need to count how many times. Really nice armor, or really nice looking guy. Again, so they're going to be having one-handed swords, shield, much better armor than what the original tier or tree of infantry will give you, as well as a stack of step arrows, as well as the step warbow. So a solid archer unit, basically. A lot better than what the original one would give you. They're going to survive a lot longer. They're going to be able to do a lot more damage with their bows, and they do have a sword and shield, which I don't believe the other units do in the baseline. I think they've just got a shield. So yeah, really cool, noble boys. Let's hop over to the Sturgians. We'll get the Sturgians done, and then the Aserai, and then that's it. God, this is probably the longest one I've ever done. Right, so we'll hop over to the Sturgians. Okay, so here we are in the original roster of the Sturgian troops. Not really much to speak for itself. You know, we've got the obviously heavy infantry, just 3 different types of heavy infantry. You've got the spearmen, axemen, and then 2-handed axemen. Going down the other side, you've got skirmish cav and then archers. So nothing too crazy there. And again, obviously, their noble tree is just going to be the special cav they get. So let's quickly hop over to what the mod has to offer for the new roster. And here we are with the new roster with the Sturgians. So starting off with the Sturgian recruit, again, everything's changed, everything's new. We'll go down the left hand side with the Sturgian thrall, into the Sturgian shield bearer, instantly looking pretty naughty, into the Sturgian Dlinger. Now, quite an interesting thing they've done here. You can get a Sturgian shield maiden, which can then turn into a Sturgian Valkyrie, or you could turn it into a Sturgian Carl, which then can turn into a Sturgian Huskarl. Now, these guys will be with a one-handed sword, shield, and Northern Throne Axes, and the Valkyries will be one-handed sword, Fang of Fenrir actually, shield, and javelins. So these two, there really isn't much difference between it. It really comes down to what you want. The only real difference, I mean, there'll be slight variations in armor, but the only main difference is she's got 1 extra javelin and he's got 1 less axe. Apart from that, they are practically the same, just one's female, one's male. So kind of cool that they've actually split that up, really keeping true with the Vikings, and and allowing you to actually have female troops. Again, I've already covered their Valkyrie mod, which is kind of ironic having Sturgian Valkyries here. Actually kind of links in quite well, because you've got the Valkyrie units now, which are, well, in my campaign, so I've got the Valkyrie units, which these could like be mercenaries from that faction kind of coming over. It's kind of cool. So yeah, really nice. Little bit of detail there. Again, keeping down the Axeman unit, you can go into the Sturgian Berserker. Now, you can then go into the Sturgian Mounted Raider, which is a real weird cav. It's only got 1 choice as well. There's only one member of its cav. And it's skirmish cav. So you've got the Executioner's Axe, so it's going to be really good. Again, round shield's going to be back protection, accompanied by 2 lots of Northern Throne Axes. So it's going to have 8 axes to throw, and it's going to swap over to a heavy 2-handed axe. So a really good looking cav, but all in all, kind of weird, kind of thrown in there. Not got an upgraded version. Keeping down the right hand side over here though, with the axe infantry, we've got the Ulfhednar into the Sturgian Marauder, and then into the Sturgian Herdman. Again, this is going to be your 2-handed heavy hitters. They're not going to use their shield. Their shield is going to be purely for back protection, and only really used when using their Northern Throne Axes. So these are going to be, basically, these are your heroic line breakers. They're exactly the same, just different armor, and much better stats, I would guess. I mean, their 200 is 220, which is pretty wild for a troop. However, if infantry isn't your gig, or at least heavy infantry isn't your gig, we've now got the Woodsman, which is actually kind of similar. Very nice chest piece there. That's a really cool looking chest piece. Going down to the Sturgian Brigand. This is where it normally go into skirmish cav, which it's kind of stopped. This is a skirmish cav now, and you've only got 1 choice. It's a really good choice, but you've only got 1 choice. You've then got the Hardened Brigand into the Sturgian Skirmisher, into the Sturgian Einhenjar, which is going to give you the Mangler polearm, which is a 1-handed polearm, which is going to, again, thrust speed, thrust damage, meh. Swing damage, only 13, so it's not going to do much swing damage, which is a real shame. But the fact that it's got it is good enough. However, it will have 3 lots of hot javelins, which is going to be 15 javelins. So, although may not be very heavy hitter when accompanied by infantry, I say accompanied, when fighting against infantry, sorry, they'll have 15 javelins to throw as long as they are protected by infantry, and be able to throw them all off. So that's a lot. That's a lot of javelins. However, if you wanted to go down a more archer line instead of skirmisher javelins, you've got the Sturgian Hunter, into the Sturgian Luchnik, into the Veteran Luchnik, and into the Fiendish Luchnik. So again, really cool looking helmets. It's got the Fiendish bow, started bodkin arrows, so that's going to be 64 arrows, and a fine steel scimitar. So a really solid infantry, really solid archer unit, which is going to really support the Sturgians here when they're mainly focusing on heavy infantry. Again, what this mod does do is it doesn't take too much away from what the game is as a base. The factions still stick true to their nature. It just expands that. So with that in mind, let's have a look at their noble tree. Okay, so here we have their noble tree. Now the noble tree is really, really nice with the Sturgians. Probably one of my favourites. So we've got Sturgian warrior son into the trained noble, into the Varyag. This is what it would normally be. Into the Druzhnik, Scion in this sense. Into the Sturgian Druzhnik, into the Sturgian Druzhnik Boyer. Now look at that boy. Look at him. Could you imagine him running around? Full golden armor. Oh, mate, could you imagine? So this is going to be your lance cav. Like I say, Sturgians don't really have much cav. They're not meant to. They are, like I say, they are very much infantry, heavy infantry focused. That is their forte, shall we say. However, having these boys, the boys, very nice looking. However, if cavalry isn't your thing and you want to keep in theme with the infantry, we can then go down into the Sturgian Thane, into the Sturgian Jarl. We've then got Ulla's Companion and Ulla's Champion, which is going to give you, again, really nice armour. Ulla's Bane, which is going to be a really nice bow, accompanied by 28 of 13 pierced arrows, with a Norse round shield and a long war sword. So, it's very similar to what the normal archer would be, but it's basically got better armour, better weapons, and a shield to be able to protect itself and block incoming arrows if needs be. However, again, if you want to keep on going down the infantry line, you've got Odin's Champion, and you've got Odin's Companion, and then you've got Odin's Champion. Which, look at that helmet. That's a really cool helmet. But what's even better is the armour, is the weapon, sorry. Mjolnir. Ooh, Mjolnir. So 200 mace, 162 damage. Now I believe maces still work like warbands, so they'll be doing a lot of blunt damage, and so they'll be knocking out a lot of people. So these guys are going to basically be making a lot of people their bitches. 162 swing damage is insane. Again, because it's two-handed, they won't be able to use their heavy shield, but it will be able to protect them, and they will have some northern thrown axes. So they will, again, they'll use their shield for when they're using northern thrown axes, but they'll instantly swap to two-handed Mjolnir, which, oh my lord, that's a lot of damage. And so there you go, that's the Sturgian trees. Now let's hop over to the Aserai. I think it's going to be over an hour long. Jesus Christ, I will split this all up, do not worry. Let's hop over to the Aserai units. God. Okay, so here we are with the original tree of the Aserai. Again, Aserai are kind of a mixed match for me. They've never really, they don't really have something to call home, so to speak. They've got archers, they've got infantry, they've got horse cav, and they've got, heavy hitting two-handed boys. They're kind of a jack of all trades faction. They just kind of deliver everything. The mod, however, changes a lot. So let's hop over to the mod units for the Aserai. So here we are with the Aserai boys. You can instantly see just the amount of dudes we've got here. There's so many new troops. So we'll go down the left hand side here with the Aserai Tribesman, into the Aserai Skirmisher. Again, these are very similar, into the Aserai Archer, Master Archer, into the Immortal Archer, which, look at these armors. Really nice looking armor. He's got the Persian Bow, accompanied with piercing arrows. That's going to be 23 arrows and a sword and a shield, battle axe actually, and a shield, so he's going to be able to protect himself against arrows and other stuff more easily. If you don't want to go down the archer line, however, you've then got the footman, into infantry, into veteran infantry, which is very similar, into immortal infantry. Now there is one thing I don't like about the immortals. It may not be for everyone. In my opinion, the Immortals are kind of a little bit wasted. You may as well keep them at veteran infantry, and here's why. So the armour may be a lot better for the Immortals, and the Immortals, don't get me wrong, they look a lot better, right? But the veteran infantry have a one-handed sword, a shield, and javelins. 5 javelins, which give you 89 pierce damage, right? That's pretty good. The javelins are pretty good. Armor isn't too bad either. So 5 javelins, he's going to be able to kill people at a range, and it's not too bad. It's not too bad. If you look at the immortal infantry, shield, sword, immortal saber, so it's going to be better. Again, the armor's going to be better. It's got throwing daggers, which is like the biggest turn-off in human history. Who has ever picked throwing daggers for anything? Oh. I could understand if the infantry and the veteran infantry had throwing daggers, and the immortals had the javelins. But they've got throwing daggers. They do he's got 3 throwing daggers. So the Aserai infantry have 2 more javelins, and the throwing daggers only do 30 damage each, whereas this does like 81. Or what was it, 81? 81 or 89? 89. So like, what's the point? Like I say, maybe people will think differently. Maybe I'm missing something. However, I just think back to the Hidden Hand, the minor clan faction. There's certain clans in this game which you can just bully for experience, and the Hidden Hand with the puppeteers and the Hidden Hand and the Hidden Pawns or whatever they're called are one of those factions you can just bully, because all they've got is a sword and throwing daggers, and throwing daggers, as you can see, do fuck all. So maybe it will be changed. Maybe it's just me overlooking what's actually the new meta. Maybe I'm like a behind in the time, should we say? And the Southern throwing daggers are actually amazing. However, I don't see it. One thing I do love though, moving on from the fucking throwing daggers, is they finally added camels. So we've got the camelry, which they need to fucking update camels in the base game anyway. The camels are so unloved. So you've got the camelry and the heavy camelry, which is going to be basically camel cav, but with skirmish camel cav. So again, just thank fuck you've added camel cav. Like the Aserai should always just have camel cav. I don't know why they don't. And the camels need more love. All right, I'm making a petition. Camels need more love. They need more variations. I mean, there's not really many more variations you can probably do for camels, but they definitely need better saddles. You can have a saddle for a horse which does 85% armor for that horse. The best one you can have for a camel is 12. Well, what's the point? What's the point? I'm hoping I'll find a mod pretty soon which is going to fix the camels for me, because I fucking love camels. But in this game they're really shit. But at least you can now get some nice skirmish camel cav. Look at them. They're so funny. Anyway, sorry. Just having a bit of a fangirl moment for camels. Moving on to the Mamluk soldiers, which are going to be your two-handed axe, down into the axemen, into the Mamluk sentry, into the Mamluk guard, into the Mamluk palace guard, and then into the Mamluk aspad guard. So whereas these boys do have javelins as well, throwing axes. These guys get Jareeds. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever used Jareeds. They are the best throwing pole arms in the game, or javelins in the game. I don't know if that's necessarily true now with all these new weapons. However, 112 pierce damage speaks for itself. You think about this guy, the Aspad guard. His armor is good in general. He's got a two-handed mace, 132 swing damage, and Jareeds, which he's got 5 of them, which do 121 pierce damage. I can't let it go. It does 90 more damage than what this guy does. Insane. I may as well just get loads of these Aspad's guard because fuck it. Don't matter. Fuck you. Anyway, moving on to the noble tree. Sorry, throwing daggers. Hate him. Let's have a look at the noble tree for the Aserai, and then we can finish up. Thank fuck, this has been a long one. Okay, so here we are with the Aserai noble tree. We've got the Aserai youth, which is what it'd normally turn into the tribal horsemen, into the Palace, into the Veteran Palace, into the Vanguard Palace, and then into the Sentinel Palace. So a really cool shot cav. One which the... wait, do they have it? Let me just quickly check. No, I missed it. Whoops. Okay, so Mamluks. They get Mamluks into the warding cavalry. I missed these boys. Whoopsie. I got too carried away with their throwing daggers. I do apologise. So basically, the Mamluk cavalry have a bonus upgrade, which is the Warden cavalry, which will give you, give your boys some really nice, a really nice bow and some really nice arrows. Basically, they're not going to be anywhere near as good as the Khuzait, but they'll try. Sorry, going back over here to the Aserai. So you've got horse archers, you've got skirmish horse cav. What the noble tree will give you is shot cav. Going down to the Sentinel Faris, you'll have the Mamluk lance, a steel round shield, and a Cascara, which is a one-handed sword. So again, you're going to be able to lance people, and your boys are going to be able to, you're not going to be able to do shit. Your boys are going to be able to lance people, and if they get caught off, they'll be able to get into fights with their one-handed sword and shield, so they'll be able to protect themselves. Their armour, again, is really nice, and they do have Jarids as well. So they're going to be able to unload 5 Jarids before going in for lances, and it's going to be pretty nice. However, if cavalry isn't your thing, you can now go down another archer line, which is the Aserai Arash Minion, into the Arash Follower, into the Arash Acolyte, into the Arash Disciple, and then finally into the Arash Reverend. So here we are at the bottom here. Doesn't have a sword and shield like the normal recruit tree. However, they've got Arash's Might, which is a two-handed mace which does 121 swing damage, which is a pretty nice trade-off. You know, no shield for just a big daddy mace. Likewise, you've got Arash's Will, which is a really nice bow which does 95 speed, 101 accuracy, 105 missile speed, and 88 pierce damage. So a really good bow in general. And then you've got Arash's Truth. 2 of them, which is 16 pierce damage with a stack size of 20. And you've got 2 of them, so that's going to be 40 arrows for the Aserai Arash Reverend. So there we go. That is all the different troop trees. This is a long video. This long video is going to be all split up. But this, I really want to bring this mod to your attention because just how different it makes all the trees. You know, it really takes, especially with Vlandians. Like I said at the beginning, the Vlandian pikemen are just awful. But this mod really allows you to just, you know, experiment more. You can roleplay more. Again, this mod works with this mod, the Valkyrie mod. To be fair, it works with most of the mods I've showcased now. The one it probably won't work with is the Eagle Rising mod, the mod where you the Empire turn into Roman troops. Probably won't work with that. However, near enough all the other mods, Bandit Militia mods, is still working. Minimap mod, all my top 5 mini mods. That's all. They're all working. Like everything is still working. I would even suggest if you was to add Shattered Kingdoms onto this, it'd still work. Because whereas Calradio expanded, which I've got on now, and Shattered Kingdoms obviously expands and creates new factions, this just changes the troops within those factions, and so I think it would still work the same way. And I think the troops will still work the same way, and it'd all be compatible. So my mods I'm doing so far, game's been said, thank you very much, game. All the mods I've done so far should work relatively well together. It's quite a nice. I'm moving. I'm going to get attacked here. Whoopsie. But yeah, you could really sit here, download all the mods, put them all together, and most of them should work together. If anyone does ever have any issues, please do leave me a comment. Leave me a comment down below if you ever have any issues with the mods I've shown. I will try my hardest to help you. I will tell you load orders and how I've organised my mods for them to work. A lot of the times it will just be one mod clashing in the slightest way with another mod, and I can help you try and figure out what the issue is. I've done it multiple times already. I've got no problem helping anyone out if they've ever got an issue. But with that being said, that is the end of this overhaul mod. How long are we going? Oh god, it's like an hour and 20 minutes. After I cut it down, it might be a little bit less, but still, this is going to be a long boy. But anyway, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. This is the Bannerlord Overhaul Troop and Items Overhaul mod. As ever, the mod will be in the description. Please do go check it out. It's a really good mod. Again, lots to unpack. lots to unpack. Sorry, but you know, if you want to delve into it and experience it for yourself, you're more than welcome to. Mod is in the description. Check it out. Share it with your friends. Get this mod known, because all these mods I've done so far have been excellent mods and definitely deserve more recognition for the work the creators have done. So with that being said, this has been the Overhaul mod for troops and items. Overhaul mod. My name's been Ruku, as ever. Always has been, always will be. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much, boys and girls. Have a good one. Bye!